Okay, just wanted to thank whoever gave me the global warming mug. Neighbor, I think I know who it was, and I thank them via email. And I finally got this mug working. It shows the 100-meter rise from global warming, which is not supposed to happen in a long time, but it could happen much faster because of the methane hydrates in the world's largest ocean shelf, the East Siberian Arctic Shelf, that has been the focus of Natalia Shakova's research. And Jim Massa worked with Natalia Shakova, and he has a YouTube channel, and he just uploaded a new video on ocean heat content being 4 times higher than normal, I guess. As he points out, the specific heat content is much higher in water than in air. And so you have basically this thermal battery it's slower to heat up, but now we have 500 extra gigawatts of heat in the ocean that we'll be releasing. And so that's going to be much more immediate on the ability to grow food at scale. Anyway, so this mug was a lot of fun. It's got this thermocline pigment. I think it's called thermocline or something. And my relative peeled off the plastic cover on the mug to activate, and then you have to put hot water in it to activate the pigment change. So I finally figured that out. Farewell, Florida. Yeah, it was a pretty dramatic change to see the water just spread into North America. I think my land up north would be flooded. And anyway, also want to thank the researcher in London. Not sure who it was, but they are coordinating they just had the memorial service for Basil J. Hiley, and I could have signed up to join it through Zoom, but it happened in the middle of the night. So hopefully they'll repost it on YouTube. And of course, it's a bit frustrating because Professor Hiley was focused on noncommutativity. So somebody was checking out my noncommutative quantum biology paper. This one here. So I just wrote a little missive as usual, and so you can see somebody in London was checking it out, and at the same time as the symposium. So I'm assuming it was June 22nd here. I'm assuming that's whoever I emailed, one of the organizers of the symposium. They had sent me the symposium for the memorial service. Is actually like a symposium actually. The various Roger Penrose is going to be there, and a lot of other collaborators of Basil J. Hiley. But of course my focus, the reason I first contacted him was about non-commutative time frequency. So that was my focus, was always on non-commutativity. And yeah, so it's a bit frustrating because the physicists, they don't really focus on the non-commutativity. Here we go, somebody else. Yeah, they were checking out more than once, this person in London, non-commutative quantum biology. So, yeah, it's difficult because if you study to become a science, everything you learn is based on commutative geometry. So you're not gonna be focusing on non-commutativity because the mathematics. That's what Basil J. Haley was developing, was the non-commutative mathematics. And my focus, he then talked about this non-commutativity in terms of quantum biology, and so that's sort of my focus, is that as meditation training, and that's what my paper's about, and how that's related to science as a whole in terms of our ecological crisis. So if we go to my paper, the formatting got messed up. I don't know what happened, but let's see if I download it, if it'll, formatting will be alright. But yeah, I'm basically just wrote a little missive here about my Qigong experience, the Qigong meditation, as a, yeah, so you can see the formatting. So I cited this paper. I want to kind of follow up on this paper here. So this is 2013, and let's see who cites this. So yeah, it was cited by 32 people. Okay. Non-local temporal interference. That looks interesting. So, life as the explanation of the quantum measurement problem. Yeah, had an interesting conversation with my relative about, it turned out she had read a book that cited a professor I studied with, Carl Zimmerer, and I took his class on environmental conservation. That was like 30 years ago, or over 30 years ago, 32 or something like that. And yeah, so then we started talking about global warming and how basically it got proven by William Redeman that the human-caused global warming started with the development of farming worldwide. So really this non-commutative quantum biology goes before farming, over 10,000 years ago. So This is, yeah, interesting. Quantum non-local temporal interference is a universal behavior of entangled quantum systems. So this was the focus of Basil J. Hiley, was non-local time that's actually non-commutative. And it seems like a really obscure kind of thing, but actually this is the foundation of reality in what it means to be human in terms of meditation, accessing this level of reality directly and experiencing this quantum potential force. Yeah, so this looks like a really interesting paper. Yeah. So you're able to basically do the quantum Zeno effect where you prevent the collapse. But in terms of non-commutativity, there is no collapse, and you can maintain that non-commutativity into the macro scale. So that's what makes Basil J. Hiley's work so revolutionary, is that non-commutative secret in terms of quantum biology. And it's really based on logical inference, so it's not really science in the sense of having a repeatable experiment. So here this paper is talking about helium atoms, and that's exactly what Basil J. Hiley was researching with Robert Flack, and I got an email response back from Robert Flack that basically, yeah, they would continue the work of Hiley. He gave me some more details that I'm not going to talk about because that's what he's working on, in private. But we can look forward to seeing more of Hiley's work, I think. I'll just put it that way. Okay, multi-particle joint arrival time distributions, as suggested in our double-slit setup, can be used to probe the Bohmian arrival time prediction. Okay, summary and outlook. Potential use of temporal observables related to quantum information processing. Due to the non-locality of Bohmian dynamics. A better understanding of the problem of time in quantum mechanics. A particle with evolving internal degrees of freedom can be considered as a clock. According to general relativity, proper time flows at different rates in different gravitational potentials. Therefore, some which way information is accessible from this final state of the clock. So this is really fascinating. Essentially, you're having the conversion of time back into spatial measurement, But what's interesting about that is if you're in meditation, you're using the photon directly, the biophoton, as spirit. And the spirit as a spiritual ego then has no spatial definition at the speed of light. But so this is what they call in meditation the sense of the absolute void that always radiates light, but there's no motion at all because the light is just turned around to that essentially like a 0 point of the emptiness. In the sense that there's no ego left, the ego gets burned up by the light turning around so that the intensity of the light is emptied out through this non-local resonance. But in the Taoist alchemy as non-commutativity, what you're focusing on is the eternal motion from the future as this quantum potential. So that's what Basil J. Haley realized, and Eddie Oceans also realized the secret of this quantum potential as the non-commutativity. So it's called asymmetric time in physics, but in actuality, that concept of asymmetry is already assuming you're converting the time into a spatial measurement. So if you're relying on the photon directly in meditation, you're actually, even though you're using that photon as your rest frame, you actually are listening to the source of the photon, and that's why you have this eternal motion of time from the future that's creating new matter and guiding matter. And so that's the paradox of what Roger Penrose calls asymmetric time, that's highly coherent before the Big Bang and after the acceleration of the universe.